Hello there, this is Adrien Morot, and in a moment I will be describing the process and the techniques that we've used to create the different makeups for the movie Barney's version. So to give you a little bit of background story, the movie takes us through 35 years of the life of television producer Barney Pinoski, which is played by the brilliant Paul Giamatti as he reflects at the key moments of that period in a series of flashbacks. The task of the makeup team was to convincingly age on screen Barney, his friends, and his family members. The real challenge as a makeup designer in a movie like Barney, where you're dealing with a great story and such an amazing cast, is to help convey the story with your makeups without altering their acting abilities, or even worse, distracting the audience from the actors' performances. Right from the beginning, the pre-production was a race against the clock, as we only had a slim month and a half to produce all the required prosthetics, the appliances, wigs, and hair pieces. The process began with a meeting with the actors where we thoroughly discussed their respective characters and how they imagined them to be, to look and eventually physically age. I then proceeded with taking live casts of their heads and hands and took a series of reference pictures that I was going to use in the design process. Back at the shop, I sat down on my computer and using Photoshop, designed the different looks and ages for all the characters based on the notes taken from talking with the actors, our director's Richard Lewis vision, and of course some of my personal ideas. Once the designs were approved, I sat down at my personal workstation and I roughed out all the different aging sculptures. Since I also had to coordinate the entire department, I passed on these sculptures to my main sculptor, his name is Michel Bougie, to fine-tune and do all the skin textures. From these sculptures, we made molds, and the appliances were casted out of silicone. Makeup artist Micheline Trepanier was hired to help me out with the straight makeup, and Valerie O'Reilly took care of Dustin Hoffman's makeup, and Régent Godet was put in charge of the hair department. One of the key aspects to keep in mind with these makeup designs was that we were only allowed 2 hours and 15 minutes to apply the most complicated of makeups. Now you have to know that in the later stages our actors are covered from eyebrows down in silicone. So decisions had to be made right from the start that there was simply no way that we could have time to, for example, have hand appliances. We even had like 4 head prosthetics that were produced, but we never had a chance to use due to the lack of time. When the movie begins, Barney is in his early 30s, and we had established during the design process that he would have a full beard at that age, as we can see on screen right now. The problem was that since the movie was not shot in continuity, as it rarely is, and that in his later ages, as we can see right now, he only has a goatee and his cheeks are clean shaven. Well, you know, like anyone who's ever tried to glue on a prosthetic on top of a full beard will know what the problem is here. There's simply no way that Paul could have kept his own beard for the shoot. Initially, lace beards were made for him, but they proved too restrictive facial movement-wise during early makeup tests. So Paul asked me to come up with a different solution. The answer was in hand-laying the beard daily, which meant mixing some yak hair and some human hair together, crimping it, curling it, gluing it into the face, curling some more. It's very time-consuming, but my initial test looked really good, and it gave him the freedom of movement he was looking for. So I was really thrilled too, because I initially thought that I might have bought myself a bit of time, as I was planning to go see our producers with our actor's request. I figured, well, you know, if I ask for an extra 40-45 minutes to lay down the beard, and I can manage to hurry up and do it in, let's say, 30 minutes, I bought myself an additional 15-20 minutes to apply these darn prosthetics. Bingo! There you go. Perfect plan. Sadly, it didn't turn out that way, because when I went to see our producer, his response was, the deal was, no matter what you design, you have to be able to do it in 2 hours 15 minutes. Beard included.
Leo, you recently signed a 7-figure deal with Simon & Schuster to publish your autobiography, and then returned the money saying that you no longer wanted to do it. What happened?
It proved to be more difficult than I originally thought it would be.
Is that? Oh, that's a countess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where'd you meet her?
That gives you a little bit of a background story on all those makeups. So how about we just now take a look at them more specifically. If we look on screen right now, Barney is in his mid-50s and Miriam is in her early 50s. Miriam, being our leading lady, and due to the nature of the character itself, has to remain classy and elegant at all stages of her aging process. And let's not forget one thing, the movie is called Barney's Version, and we're watching the movie through Barney's eyes, so his wife has to remain like beautiful at all times. Rosamund there was wearing a wig, as she's naturally blonde. She was also wearing very subtle gelatin prosthetics. She had some over her lids, to give her the beginning of crow's feet. She also had thin nasolabial appliances that went all the way down to start changing her jawline a bit, as well as a beginning of a neck waddle prosthetic. I tried something with Barney that I don't know if people will really notice, but I had fun coming up with the whole backstory. I figured that as long as Barney remained married to his beautiful wife, that he would try to keep his weight in check, and therefore we created this 50s and earlier makeup looks to be a little thinner than the following stages. Once the divorce, his entire life collapses, and he's also diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and I figured that he would let himself go a little bit and gain a bit of weight.
What?
Where the hell did I park my car?
You took a cab.
Right. Yeah.
The next scene will be a good example of what I was talking about when I said being covered in prosthetics from eyebrows down. Paul prosthetics were made out of silicone and shows very well the weight gain that I was mentioning. Rosamund's appliances were made out of gelatin, and the reason why we went with gelatin is because my initial makeup tests with her were made out of silicone, but I did not really like the way it moved around her mouth. So we switched. And I have to admit that it was really scary, as I've had some horrible experiences in the past with full-face gelatin appliances. But thankfully, this was not one of them, and the switch ended up being the right choice.
Have I ever given up when it comes to you?
Never.
So what makes you think I'm gonna start now?
Jean, did you see Barney?
No, madame, I haven't. He paid the bill, but left his wallet on the table.
Thank you.
Paul's makeup here is basically the same as what we had in the previous scene, but I changed the coloration to be paler and spottier, and his hair was grayed out quite a bit. The disease is now very pronounced, so I gave him also like blurred out irises, contact lenses to amplify that lost soul look. Of course, most of it was done by Paul's incredible acting skills, but you know, I did what I could to help him out. We had Barney's son Michael, which was played by Dustin Hoffman's son Jake, grew his own beard for the scene to show the passage of time, and I thought that was a nice touch. I will now let the rest of the clip roll on its own, and I hope that you enjoyed the movie's makeups as much as we did creating them. Thank you very much.
Barney,
Yeah.
there you are.
Well, Adrien, you know what the deal was.
couldn't
You know,
find
like
you.
whatever
I
you
got
come up with, makeup-wise, you
so
have
beautiful.
to be able to do it in 2 hours 15 minutes, and that also includes the beard.
So,
Look at you practically shaking.
yeah, no, it didn't quite turn out the way I wanted to.
Lost me. Oh.
But we still managed to pull it off and do all those
I'm just gonna
prosthetics
keep
and
talking
do the beard in
because
2
I'm
hours
afraid
15 minutes.
that if I stop, there's gonna be a pause or a break, and you're gonna say it's getting late or I should get going. And I'm not ready for that to happen. I don't want that to happen. Ever.
There it was. The pause.
Yeah.
I'm still here.